Shabbat Shalom, my friends. We know that the loss of a single life can sometimes change the course of human history. Americans know full well how the assassination of Abraham Lincoln dramatically altered the outcomes of the defeat of the South during the Civil War. On November 4th, 1995, a date which on the Hebrew calendar occurs this weekend, Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin was assassinated. We have every reason to ponder what the Middle East would have looked like today if this warrior for peace had been allowed to pursue his plans. A window into Rabin's now shattered dreams can be found in the words of the song that he sang at a peace rally in Tel Aviv just minutes before his death. The blood-stained sheet containing the words to Shabbat Shalom were found in Rabin's pocket. The last verse of Shabbat Shalom goes as follows: Al tagidu yom yavo, haviu et hayom, ki lo chalom hu, v'chol hakikarot hariu l'shalom. Don't say the day will come. Bring the day about, for it is not a dream. And in all the city squares, cheer for peace. Those words address today's headlines, yesterday's headlines, presumably tomorrow's as well. Zecher tzadik livracha. May the memory of Yitzhak Rabin ever be for a blessing. Our Sedra is Lech Lecha, Genesis 12:1 and following. Our people's prehistory begins with a command by God to Abram, Lech Lecha, go forth from your land, from your birthplace, to the land that I will show you. I will make of you a goy gadol, a great nation, and I will bless you, that through you all of the families of earth will be blessed. Abram doesn't ask God where he's headed, and God doesn't share any details. Abram might have used the occasion to ask God to take him to a place with great weather and plenty of water, kind of like San Diego, but he doesn't. Only when Abram gets to Canaan does God say, I am giving this land to your descendants. Canaan now suddenly becomes the land of promise. That was an unexpected surprise. Several things stand out here. First of all, we have no idea if God and Abram had ever chatted before. Had Abram ever expressed to God an interest in founding a nation? Had Abram ever shared with us how this God, who is, after all, in Abram's hometown, a foreign God, since in those days individual gods were kind of attached to individual towns or communities, how Abram's God is going to be understood among what? A vast menu of other gods. But here was God pulling Abram out of his land, out of his birthplace, out of his family, out of his ties to local patterns of worship, and not even handing our first patriarch a map. God would have said, come with me to this and this location, but God didn't do that. Nevertheless, in a very unlikely turn, Abram went with him. Now we all know that later on the Midrash totally saw all that our text has omitted and wove beautiful stories regarding Abram's home life, his life as a child, his life as a young adult, We are so familiar with those midrashim that sometimes we flip through the pages of Genesis looking for that story of Abram in his father's idol factory. Give up the search. It's not there. Nothing is there, because such context and backgrounding are actually irrelevant to our narrative. What the weavers of the Genesis stories want us to focus on here is just Lech Lecha, go, leave. It is the journey itself that counts. The going, the leaving, not where the journey was launched from. Adam and Eve were expelled from the Garden of Eden, fine, and the causes of that expulsion quite detailed. Their leaving was therefore simply a departure. They were going nowhere in particular. The builders of the Tower of Babel were expelled from their construction site and scattered across the world. We know why. But their leaving was simply a going. To where? Didn't matter. Aviva Zornberg points out that the moment Abram leaves home, he enters into an imperiled contingency. That's a great phrase, right? Imperiled contingency. There will be no turning back. There is no detailed contract, no refunds within 30 days, no instructions as to how to pack. Because this will be a spiritual journey, not an occasion to go sightseeing in foreign lands. Interesting. Just check this out. The word travel connects with the French word travail, the kind of pains associated with birth. And we know that a close synonym for travail, is labor. And obviously that has strong echoes of the birthing process. Lech Lecha, Abram, there's a journey, you're traveling. Labor, it's time for your soul to be born. Much later on, Abraham, will be told by God to go on another journey, veiled in contingency. Take your son, your only one, the one you truly love, and go to the place that I will show you. This will be another spiritual journey, but one that will reverse the birthing image, because on Mount Moriah, Abraham is going to be told to slaughter his son, his beloved son. To bring in a cultural reference, Tom Cruise in the latest Mission Impossible movie gets an order, but that order into high danger and exciting special effects offers Cruise an option of refusal. If you want it, you can do this. There are no such options here. The journey to shape one's soul offers no options. Zornberg helps us understand that at the core of the stories surrounding Abraham's life is transformation. When Abram takes that first step on the path leaning away from his normal existence, he opts for transformation, even though he is clueless as to what transformation will mean for him. Abram will turn his back on parental expectations, maybe medical school, who knows, while not being able to articulate what his own expectations of his own self will be. Abram is not just the first one in the Torah to live the possibility of reshaping his own destiny and his understanding of himself. He will also reshape his reality without having any understanding as to what that might mean. Maimonides, Rambam, adds his own insights here that the transformation of Abram's soul will ultimately lead to a transformation of the world itself. Zornberg offers a summary of Abraham's journey as a birthing process for Abraham's soul and for his understanding of himself. A process, once he has understanding of himself, a process that sets the stage for the emergence of new ways to understand existence itself. That's what Genesis is setting the stage for us to understand. Nothing will ever remain the same. Once God calls out to Abram, Lech Lecha, and our first patriarch heads out into the unknown, nothing will ever remain the same. Shabbat Shalom, my friends. Shabbat Shalom. Let's pray for a meaningful peace. See you next week.